Hello there survivors, and welcome back to another build tutorial in ARK Survival Ascended. Today I'm going to show you step by step how to build this big all-in-one mountain A-frame, which has a big Dino Pen at the bottom, which should definitely house most of your breeding projects, including the bigger tames like a Giga, as well as of course the main A-frame, which has plenty of space for your storage and crafting needs, a neat little kitchen area. It even has an added greenhouse on the outside, plenty of space for your flyers to be parked as well, and of course another layer for your bedroom and your respawn, so you're always safe for your next adventure. As always, if you like seeing these build tutorials, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support me even more, you can always consider becoming a YouTube member. As far as I know, this build should be within the limit of official, especially if you use some larger walls wherever you can. And you should be able to build this completely without mods. I do recommend using some custom cosmetics, especially to blend in the greenhouse. You'll need some. The ones that I've used will be in the pinned comment down below. And I've also used Architect Structures Remastered for the glass in my case, which is a proper mod. But if you do not have that and you're playing on a server without mods, you can use custom cosmetic skins to get a nice glass texture of your choosing. There's plenty out there, so you can still use this design. With that being said, let's jump into the full build tutorial. As always, of course, we want to start with a foundation. And what we want to do is go 15 wide, so we're gonna start with that 5 like this, 5 more like this, and then once more we add 5 to the side. There we go. So 15 wide, so you need a decently flat spot to get this with foundations. Of course, you could always do it with ceilings and pillars, but that will add a little bit more structures to the build. And then for the length, we're gonna go 30, so double it. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, and 30. So as you can see, you need quite a bit of space. So either you need to find a nice big flat spot, or you might have to use some ceilings instead of foundations with some pillars and walls to support and make everything look good again. Or if you're playing with mods, I recommend ASR, Architect Structures Remastered, because then you could stack the foundations, and the foundations have better snap points, which makes it a little bit easier to get the entire shape done. But you can definitely do it with normal vanilla structures. You'll just need to either look for a nice spot where you have enough space. I think I had plenty of space up there. But yeah, sometimes, of course, it can be a little bit tricky to find the right spot, and you might need to improvise a little bit with ceilings instead. So yeah, for now, we want to make sure that we fill in the entire shape of the foundation. So this is what the whole 15 by 30 shape should look like. And then, of course, you want to actually fill it in all the way through with the foundation so that we have all the room and the support for the build going forward. So I'll see you once you have the whole foundation done. And there we go. That is the entire foundation filled in, and that's about the size that we need. We're gonna make a few little adjustments along the way, but this at least will give you a good idea of how much space you'll need for the build. Alright, then to start, you need to figure out where you want the entrance of the Dino Pen to be. The other side is going to be where the A-frame is. So if you pick this for the entrance, the A-frame will be on that side, and the other way around as well. You'll take out a behemoth cellar door. I'm going to use metal, but you could definitely change out materials if you want to make it out of different things. There we go. We have the variations of the cellar doors now. So we want to go to the barn door, and we want to snap it to the middle 5 of our building. So we have 5 on both sides. Middle 5 is going to be the big door. Then we can add pillars in around it, just like this, also making it connect to the ground. And then we can have beams along the top of this build too. We can take out some ramps here to kind of have some supports. You might need 2 depending on how high your foundation or ceiling is from the ground. But yeah, you can make a nice little ramp into your building to create the entrance. Then it's time to get started on the walls. We're going to take out a stone wall and we're going to fill in the entire layer next to the behemoth large barn door. And we're going to go over the top of it as well. And then, of course, going down here, doing the same, connecting this all the way through to the corner of the build. And then we can fill in the 2 walls here at the corner all the way. And the top layer, leaving that empty. We're going to have a nice window in there. Filling this top layer in as well. And then we can, of course, connect it all the way back down to the foundations, just like this. Also fill in this layer and we'll have another nice window there. What we want to do is we add beams to the tops and bottoms of this. There we go. And then some pillars along the side, just like that. And we'll do that for both of these. Now, big difference: if you play with mods, you can use things like ARK Structures Remastered for really nice glass textures. If you're playing without mods, for example on official, you can of course use custom cosmetic skins, so you can fill in the window with whatever material wall you want and then skin it to your favorite window skin afterwards. I always use Architect Structures Remastered. I get a lot of questions about this, so now you know that is pretty much always the glass that I use. It just saves me time for not having to use custom cosmetic skins, but there's definitely plenty of window skins out there by now. And then the corners here of the build, we also want to make sure that we add our pillars all the way up and connect them down to the ground if possible. And we'll do the same thing on the other corner. Basically, that is this side and this entrance pretty much done. Yeah, we got a big entrance for even the bigger tames like Karchas or Gigas. And yeah, this will be the entrance to your Dino Pen, garage, or whatever you want to use the bottom layer of the building for. Okay, then it's time to continue the walls here on the side. We want to go out by 12 in total. So just following this along until we've got 12 in total. And very important, we're doing the same thing on the other side as well. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. So that's how big this first wall is going to be. Then we want to actually bring up the first 2 walls all the way to the top. Then have just the 2 top layers and bring this part of the wall back down. We can also add in pillars alongside of this for another window creation right here like this. And then of course either using modded glass or maybe even greenhouse walls or any other walls with a custom cosmetic skin. You could of course also go for the frontier skins if you don't have any other custom cosmetics. And then on this side of course we'll do the same thing. So 2 walls all the way up. We'll bridge this around to create our window here and then add in the beams and the pillars all the way around it to get that nice look, and add in either your glass modded structures or normal walls with some glass skins for a nice big window. The rest of the wall is actually rather simple. We just need to fill it all in with stone because this is going to be detailed by whatever is going to go on the outside of the build. But for now, we just need to worry about getting this layer all the way in. So filling in this wall, which will make a lot of this Dino Pen here at the bottom already have some safe walls up here. And then we can just fill in all of these the same way, making sure that we have at least a big part of the bottom layer already done. Then it's time to continue here at the end of the wall. We want to take out wooden walls and we want to place one right over here and actually connect another one next to it. Now we want to raise these up to be 5 high in total. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the outside, and the one on the inside is actually going to be 1 higher, so it's going to be 6 in total. Then here we're going to do the rest of the wall as well, so make sure that the logs are on the outside, because I kind of prefer the log texture on the outside. Although if you prefer the other way, you can of course easily flip it around. And we're gonna just repeat that same shape right here. Then for here at the outside, in most settings, I think, at least me, I can just make sure that the walls go all the way to the bottom. If you can't, you probably just want to fill in the foundation down there, maybe a wooden foundation, to make it look like this is going all the way down into the ground. And then here on the inside, we just want to fill in this wall. What I would like to do is add a secret doorway, at least at the bottom, so that you could use the space inside of this structure to maybe hide like a generator or just some other storage that, you know, you might find useful. So we're going to do the same thing right here, making sure that the one on the outside is 5 high and the one on the inside is the full 6 high. And then we'll repeat that structure just the same over here, making sure it goes back down into the ground. And then here on the inside, once again, start with the secret door and then just fill in this side of that wall too, which kind of makes a nice ending for that stone bit that we started the wall with, and is going to transition into the more modern windows that we'll have at this side. All right, then we can have a gap of 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we can place another wall right here and then another one right there as well. We're not going out, just these ones, so a gap of 4 before the first wall, and then this wall we want to make 6 high in total, so just the full height that we have over there as well. And then we're doing a similar thing here, so we can have the secret doorway at the bottom just in case, and fill this side in all the way too, just to make another wooden pillar like this. We'll do the same thing here on the other side, of course. So once again, we'll leave a gap of 4, and then we can have these 2 walls. Make sure that they're both 6 high in total, just like that. And then here on the inside, we can once again start with the secret doorway. But then, of course, we can just fill it all in with normal walls. And now what we actually want to do is we want to remove these middle 2 foundations between these 2 walls. On both sides, we're going to create some entrances into the build here. So what we want to do is we want to take out those stairs and snap them right into the middle there, so that you have a way to get up and inside. And then on top of that, we want to have a gateway. Well, that's going to be our entrance. We're going to do the same thing here on this side. Of course, adding in the actual gates too. There we go. And then all around it, we just want to have some glass walls. So either using proper glass if you're using mods, maybe use greenhouse glass, or use a custom cosmetic if you're unofficial and still want a nicer glass texture than honestly the greenhouse, because greenhouse doesn't have the nicest texture. So yeah, we'll just fill in this entire wall between the 2 wooden structures that we've just created. And then we have some nice entrances to the side, as well as a nice big window to let in some more natural light. All right, then to continue the walls, we want to take out our glass again. We want to continue by 3 like this, then bring it in by 1, and then continue with 2 more. So there's a little corner going on there. And of course, here on the other side, we're doing the same thing. So we go out by 3, in by 1, and then we have 2 more before the end. And then here at the end, we actually want to create another wooden pillar. So we're going to have 2 right next to each other like that. We're going to have the walls here at the end. And then just in case, if you want to utilize this, I would have some secret doors here on the inside once again. And then on the other side, of course, we want to create that same shape to get started with. And then we want to have the secret doorways here on the inside. Now for the height, we want to make sure that this is also going to be 6 high everywhere again. So we can just start filling the rest of these walls in and raising them up, basically serving as some kind of nice big wooden pillars for this part of the build, which I think looks quite nice. So we'll do the same thing right here. Just keep filling all these walls up until they're all 6 high, which should give us a nice big Dino Pen. There we go. Then we can also take out our glass again, and we can actually fill up these walls all the way to the proper height as well. Once again, it's either going to be modded glass like I'm using, or you're going to use greenhouse glass, or you're going to use your custom cosmetic skins. Then we actually want to have some pillars here right on the corner there as well, just to kind of add a little bit of details to that part. And then of course we can do the same thing here on the other side, fill in these walls as well to finish up the section here underneath and create our nice big Dino Pen just like that. Then we can take out our pillars and we can fill in these corners with our pillars all the way from top to bottom. All right, then we can once again take out our glass wall. We can go up by 4, then we can go across by 4 in total. So basically we leave a 2 by 3 free in the middle, and then we can make sure that this wall is as high as the other, so 6 in total. We'll do the same thing right here, so we'll create the little gateway shape pretty much, and then fill up the rest of the wall until it's the proper height. We can take out our gateways, we can add them inside here, which is going to give us another few entrances, and of course we can add in the actual gates. And then here for the middle, we want to add in 2 walls right here. So again, the glass is in the middle. Do the same thing here on the other side over there, and then the back wall here. Once again, if you want to make sure that you can access this, you can have some secret doorways, so you can enter this and utilize the space if you want to. And then we want to fill up these walls to be 6 high in total as well. So we'll fill all of these up all the way until we've all reached the same height, and that should at least give you the Dino Pen layer below here, which now is pretty much enclosed. So yeah, you have quite a few entrances to the Dino Pen, which I think is always nice and convenient. And then actually for the rest of this little bit that falls outside of the build, what you want to do here is just add some railings going across. Of course, if you want to, you can add some staircases leading off from here if you want to be able to access this part from different sides. But basically this is kind of like a porch area. It could also be used to park some of your flyers quite easily that you keep using to fly in and out, so you don't have to like fly all the way into the building, but have a nice clear landing and fly spot to go on all your adventures. Okay, then it's slowly time to get started on the next layer, and especially of course the A-frame itself. So we're going to start right here with a metal ceiling, or any other ceiling really, especially if you're going to skin, it doesn't really matter too much. We want to make sure that it sticks out by 1 on the front, and then this is going to be 11 in total. So that's 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. So that's how far we want this to go. Okay, and then it's time to take out our roofs from the ceilings that we've just placed. We want to go up by 13 in total, so we're just gonna go up a whole bunch. That is 4, 5, 6, 8, 10, 12 and 13. So we're gonna go up quite high, as you can see. The convenient part of course about the A-frame is you can easily walk up and down, and then from here we actually want to make sure that we extend this by 2 more, and we're actually going to bring this down. So here on the outside is going to be 3 wide, and you basically want to make sure that these roofs go down until you hit the ground, which once again is going to add some nice detail instantly here to the side of the building, and it will make it way easier to get up and down from the build, because basically we now have a walkway all the way up to the next layer. So there we go, that is how wide it should be. And of course we can also make sure that this 3 wide on the outside is going to go all the way up to the top of the A-frame. So we'll just make this a little wider all the way up to the top layer like this. Then it's time here to create a support beam. So here in the middle of these three that we've now placed at the top, we want to have a full wall. And from there, we want to start another layer of these roofs going back down in the middle. So this is basically going to be one of the support beams, one of the accents for the whole build, which is, I mean, it's mostly for show, of course, but it really adds a really nice character and look to the build, because you can see it from all the way at the top all the way down to the bottom here, because it goes in front of this wall. It's a big statement piece. Then we want to fill in these sides with our sloped walls. So we just want to go all the way following this beam from bottom all the way to the top, filling it all in to make sure that it looks all nice. Not the easiest. What you could do in survival to make it easier, of course, remove the last one maybe, or just use a grappling hook that is usually your friend, or of course build on a flyer. We have the long support beam all the way from the top to the bottom now, and that is kind of indicating how big the A-frame is going to be. Okay, it's time to get some more shape into the build. So here, after two of these roofs, we want to have another wall like this. And from this spot, we want to go down by 10 of these roofs in total. So that's 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10. So there we go. That is the first line that we need. And then one up from the bottom here, we want to expand this by 4 in total. So it's going to be 5 in total here. Then we can take out our wooden ceiling, or any ceiling really, but we're going to use wood to make it a little bit easier for the skins. And then we want to add 2 wide platform right here at the end, basically. And then we can take out our metal wall and we can start going across here. So this is another beam that we're gonna form here. So we're taking this metal beam, or it doesn't really matter too much with the materials, but this just makes it easier, all the way here to the other side. So it meets up with this part of the beam. And then here at the end, we want to have a slope wall, of course. And then here at the end, of course, it's going to be slope walls. We can actually fill in this part of the beam with slope walls, even though it's probably always going to be out of sight. At least I wouldn't be able to rest easy knowing that this would be open. So we want to fill in this side of the beam down from here, and then up from here, of course, we want to start filling in the beam as well. For now, let's not go all the way up, because at the top is going to be slightly different, but at least until we reach about this point, you should be able to just fill it all in. And the rest we're going to leave open for now, because we'll get there once we do the rest of the supports. But at least this layer is starting that beam. And then what we want to do, of course, is make sure that we fill this in at the bottom as well. So basically creating this beam going all the way from one side to the next. Now, if you're not going to skin this, you might want to flip around the ceiling so that they're nice and smooth. If you're going to use skins, it doesn't really matter too much. But yeah, you just want to fill this one in all the way along the bottom. And now that we have that beam, we can actually also start filling in the rest of this. So this, of course, we just want to have the wooden wall going all the way down. And the same over here. We just want to bring this all the way down into the ground. You could actually add another one there so that it actually goes down into the ground. But yeah, that should finish those support pieces. And then, of course, here we want to start another support beam. So we're going to take our sloped walls, one from the outside of this roof line, of course, and we're going to bring this up until it meets the top of this shape. So there we go. That is what the support would look like. And then there's going to be another slope wall right there in the middle. And then what you could do, if you want to save some materials, you can actually do this top one to be a full wall instead. And then you can continue these slope walls like normal, just like that. Depending on the textures, what you could do is you could split them up so you can do different textures if you wanted to. It doesn't really matter too much if you're gonna skin it, but there's different ways to do that part depending on what you want, because you could of course choose different textures for both of these beams. But you can already see a little bit of the depth in this A-frame. One beam slightly more forward than the other one to create that extra shape. So speaking of that beam, we want to make sure that we fill in the bottom layer here with some roofs going back up until we reach this part. And then of course here we want to fill in the roof. This roof is actually going to go a little bit higher than the part that we have right now. For now, we're going to make this 3 wide, and we're going to just follow this all the way along until we reach back down to this place that we've already made. So this is going to be the main roof, and then of course we need to finish this support beam all the way through. So we want to make sure that we have this support filled in with slope walls as well, to create that proper beam going from the bottom to the top. And then here at the end, we basically just want to use another full wall like that. All right, then for now, what we want to do is we want to go out by 9 more from this. So that's 3 more, and then 3 more. And then we basically want to repeat that little platform. So we have this 2 wide, and it's going to be 4 long in total. That's the same amount that we need right here. And then of course this is also where we would have the roof going on like this. So that's basically mirrored from that side to the other side, just so we can do all this what we've just done on one side, we have to of course do on the other side as well. Starting with, we'll follow this line of the ceilings, and we'll go on the outside of these walls. We'll just follow around the building just like this all the way until we reach 11, of course. So on this side, of course, you want to make sure to keep count. So there's 6, 8, 10, and 11. You can just line it up, of course, with the other side, and then this is where once again the A-frame would start. So we'll have the 3 wide here going back down this side of the walls as well to create that little bit of extra detail. And then of course, depending on your landscape, you might have to have a little bit more or less of these roofs before you hit the ground. And then here, of course, we would start with the walls. So here on the corner, and then we can just bring this all the way in, all the way across, basically, to create this beam, which is kind of what we need for now. So we'll keep it until we reach that roof part. Then we can, of course, also fill in these final walls of the support beams below. You want to make sure that you have ceilings at the bottom of this layer too, just so that we can fill this thing in just like that. And then of course we do the same here, just to prepare that whole support beam going across, basically what we've just done on the other side. But now we're also preparing so we can start filling in the whole floor for the next layer, which will make it a lot easier to build that layer, of course, so that we can walk around at least. So filling in that wall, we should now have that bottom complete too, just as we have the other side being complete. There's one more thing that we need to do before we start filling everything in. Basically what we want to start is we want to have some ceilings right here. We want to bring them 1 to the outside. We want to go out by 4, basically creating a 3x3 hole right here, which is where we would do an elevator platform to get up and down, so you can easily bring dinos up and stuff up to the A-frame level where you could have your storage, etc, etc. Other than this hole, we kind of want to just start filling in the entire ceiling layer of this build, so that we can have a nice big platform to work with so that it is a little easier to walk around on here. And yeah, we can build the rest of the building a little bit easier. So yeah, for now, we're gonna have to place down a bunch of these ceilings. I usually just like to go around the outside a little bit first, because usually that is the easiest way to do this, just to kind of follow the sides and just fill it all in. But yeah, now that we have the boundaries in place, it should be quite easy. And again, I'm using the wooden textures just so that it is easier to see what you should skin in different skins, or at least what I have skinned in different skins. But of course, if you want to build it out all out of metal or tech because it's stronger, definitely go ahead and do just that. This is just an indication so you know what to skin. And we just want to go around and fill it all in now. So yeah, it's quite a bit of work, of course, but you'll have a decent amount of space. And as far as I know, you know, should probably be enough to keep you pretty happy with the built-in Dino Pen, and everything is it's always quite convenient, of course, for a base. So yeah, we're gonna just keep filling this all in, of course, keeping in mind where we have our elevator platform, that we do not accidentally fill that in. Definitely not something we want to do. There we go, just filling it all in. And yeah, now we're at the actual elevator platform, so we want to make sure that we do not accidentally mistake that for anything. So we're just gonna go around that first, so that we make sure that we do not fill that in no matter what. So just this section, and then at least everything around where the elevator platform will be is done, and we can just happily start filling all of this in. Let's fill those in because those are kind of aligned now, and then we can just fill in the last remaining part. So it's a little bit of work, of course, but it will make the A-frame building a lot more convenient, because we have a proper ceiling now to walk around on. We have the A-frames on the outside already on one side, actually on both sides, so we can easily get up and down the building, which will of course massively help with the construction. And the good thing about A-frames is you can quite easily walk up and down, so it's easier to reach all the different places. There we go. Just start filling this all in from one side to the other. There we go. Almost there. And then we have a big ceiling to work with for the next layer of the build. Now, what you could do if you want to make sure that you have some kind of hatch frame somewhere to drop in some tames below, what I would do is 2 from the side and 3 from this side. So starting right over there, you could actually enter a hatch frame, and then I would go for the 5x5, so you have definitely plenty of space to drop in tames if you want to, of course. So basically a gap like this for a big behemoth hatch frame cellar door. And to start with, we would surround this with some beams to make it look a little bit nicer. And then I personally like the tech hatch cellar doors the most. But of course, if you don't have that, a metal one or anything else will do too. So yeah, the behemoth cellar door, basically to create a nice easy place to drop off some things. I usually do the auto open disabled, so that if you're walking around on the top of your roof, you can still do so, and only when you mean to drop something in, you can actually open up the hatch frame. And then we might as well start with filling in the elevator here as well. So where we left a gap, we want to make sure that we have the tracks against this wall, and then use a medium elevator platform to fill it in. So that's how you could also bring up and down some dinos from the Dino Pen below into your main building. Okay, right up top here, we want to make sure that these two, we're going to expand and make this 8 in total. So just like this. And then from this one, we're going to go down by 5 in total. And then we can fill in the bottom 2 layers here and connect them back up to that roof. And then we also want to add another layer right here on this side of the roof. Then we have a big gap left, which we want to fill in with some glass roofs. So you can either use just normal greenhouse roofs or any modded textures that you might have, or of course look for some nice custom cosmetic skins to use. But I'm using the Architect Structures Remastered modded pieces, but definitely just using normal greenhouse glass looks quite nice, because for some reason the roof pieces seem to be much better than the wall pieces. Then over here we want to go in by 1, and then here we can actually expand back out to the outside. And then we want to repeat what we've done on this side. So we want to basically make sure that this is 8 long, so that's 6, and that will be 8 in total. And then we can also make sure that we have this going down the same way. We can go out by 5 and basically create another one of these windows. And we'll do the same thing, have the nice glass roof pieces here to create another big window over here. And then here we want to make this 3 wider. This, of course, this corner is not going to go there because we have that beam going through there. But then we can start filling this back in down to the ground. And actually these ones, these last 2, we can also connect back up to the top. So it's just this middle part that won't be connected yet. So we'll do the same thing here. Connect this up to the roof. Fill this in all the way to connect to that. And then we can bring these parts back down and connect them up to what we have. So that should now be connected to this roof. We should only have a big gap here, which is going to be another entrance, so we can have this as a nice balcony. But that is already starting to come together quite nicely. Then what we want to do is we want to go across with some metal walls, or any kind of walls really, if you're skinning it, and fill in this side of the building. Then we want to continue these ceilings. Oops. We don't want to do that, but you want to continue the ceilings here at the bottom to basically create this beam everywhere, because that just will look a little bit nicer. And then here on the inside, we can actually make sure that we fill in the walls of this beam too, so that it actually looks like it's a supportive beam rather than just like something that is completely hollow. So we want to actually go around, and wherever we can, we want to fill in this side of the beam too, just to make it look a little bit nicer. So also in these spots which are easy to forget, but once again, I wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't do it. So make sure to check carefully. Again, not the easiest spot to build at, but yeah, a grappling hook is your best friend, or you know, maybe some good flying, or of course tech suits. Tech suits definitely your best friend. But yeah, we want to make sure that we fill in these little walls so that the whole beam is nice and closed off now. And then we want to take out the walls again. We want to have one wall right there in the middle and one right here at the end too. Then, of course, we have 2 roofs sticking out from that for both of these. And then once again on top, we will have another wall like this. Then we want to start bringing this roof across as well. So first of all, we're going to start with this layer and bringing that all the way across from one side to the other. Make sure that you extend it one further than the piece that we have right here. And then we can bring this up to that same height. So basically, it's going to be 4 from this layer that we've now started. And then we can start filling this section in all the way across and connect that back up to the part that we've already built before. As I've said, this is a little bit of the easier part, because you can always quite easily reach everything on the top of the A-frame. And we should be able to bring it all the way across, meeting back up to the section that we already built before. And of course, on this side of the A-frame, we want to make sure that we fill in these sections to make these support beams look the way they should, and just fill in all these pieces with some sloped walls everywhere. So just want to make sure that we fill all of these in like that. All right, now that we're getting the shape of the A-frame done, it's time to also build the support beam on this side of the A-frame. So I'm going to start with this one, bringing this up all the way, one in from the end of the roof. And of course, until we meet this section here, and we can just have it end like that. Then, of course, we want to add in our roofs down the bottom of these slope walls to actually create that beam all the way. And we want to fill in this side with our slope walls too. So just following along the edge and filling it all the way in until we reach the top right here. And then, of course, at the end, we just want to make sure that we add in a full wall. Then, of course, we want to make sure that we continue these three roofs all the way to the top, so we can also start the support beam on this side. So we want to make sure that we connect this part up to the top part that we've already built here. There we go. And then we can start the actual support, so we can continue this down from here in the middle of these three roofs that we've just added, and bring it all the way down from top to bottom to give us that nice looking support. It should go right in front of the beam that we've already created, and just follow it all the way down into the ground if we can. There we go. And then, of course, it's time to start filling in these sides just like this, and actually create our support beam once more. So we'll follow the entire shape back up to the top, which will make sure that we have the actual A-frame completed on both sides of the building, which is I would say the hardest part done probably. So we'll fill all of this in all the way until the top. That's already starting to look quite nice. And then, of course, we shouldn't forget the other side, even though it's mostly out of sight for a lot of this. It does look a lot nicer, of course, when we do fill it all in. So there we go. Even here in this bit that might be easily forgotten, you kind of just want to make sure that you at least fill it in, because, well, my conscience couldn't live with that still being open. And then here, of course, on the top layer, we also want to make sure that we follow this beam all the way back to the top of the building like this, and it should meet up with the rest of the spot that we have already built before. So there we go. Now we have the A-frame standing somewhat, and of course we need to start filling in the rest of these walls. All right, so what we want to do is, from where the beam starts, we want to have two normal ceilings before we place a slope wall, and here on this side we're gonna do the exact same thing. So two before we have the slope wall. We'll do the same thing here, so two, and then we'll have a slope wall there. Same thing over there, just as a preparation. That's where the walls on these sides are at least going to end up at. Okay, then it's time to finish this side of the A-frame first, because it's already pretty far done. We want to come to these slope walls that we've just placed. We want to take out our wooden wall. Once again, you could add some secret doorways if you wanted to, although, I mean, I don't know if you need all the space, but you could definitely do it. Just remind yourself that some skins don't work on them. So we want to have two walls right here. We'll do the same thing on this side, two walls, and then we'll bring two walls here to the outside, just like that. So both of them go out by 2, which leaves 1 left here on the outside. Then we place a wall here and a wall there too. And what we want to do is we want to fill in these with some more roofs like that. Then here on the outside, we want to place 1 more wall, of course, there too. And then we want to take out some slope walls, and we will start following the shape of the roof here with a few going up and down like this. So we can blend these shapes together just like that all the way across. And then all we need to do is basically fill in these walls. So yeah, we want to make sure that we have these walls kind of blending in from the outside into the roof, kind of breaking it up and adding that nice wooden accent into it. And don't forget that at least the ceilings we're definitely going to skin either into the Frontier skin, which is really nice wood, or of course using some custom cosmetics as I have done. But there we go. These 2 walls is what we want from this side. Then we want to take out our metal ceilings. We want to start in the middle and then add 1 on both sides. And we want to just bring this out to the front here. And we want to create the overhang of 1 everywhere. Then here we also want to make this 3 wide and continue this crossing over to the other side until we reach this part of the wall. And we'll do the same thing. 1 ceiling on both sides of this wall sections. And then as you can see, we have a nice part left, which we want to fill in with our glass ceiling so that we get some light to the inside. As you can see, brings in some nice light. And then here on the front, we want to take out our glass walls and we want to go 2 from the wooden wall in on both sides. There we go. And then we want to also go across the top right there. Then we'll bring out our large cellar doors and we'll go to the barn door, and it should snap right into the middle of this. We can then take out our beams, go along the top and have some pillars along the side just like this. And there we go. That is the entrance that we'll use on this side of the building. You can of course open up the doors, and this just gives you a nice large entrance which you could use to fly things in and out your main A-frame base. Then it's time to work on these sides of the A-frame and fill in the walls. We want to find this middle wooden pillar that we have at the bottom, and then right above it, so that is 1 from the outside, we're going to continue this. So just like that, and we can bring this all the way up as far as we can. It should almost touch the roof, and then we'll have a sloped wall piece right there on the top. Then of course we can also fill in the sides of this structure, so that's going to go up to where the roof would be. Same thing for this side. We'll bring it up all the way to where the roof would be. At the bottom here, you could of course once again have a secret doorway, so you can use the space to hide something inside. And we also want to bring it up like this and have a slope wall on the top so that it fits nicely into what the roof is going to be and gives us a nice support beam going from the bottom all the way to the top, which is quite nice. That's also of course something we want to do here on the other side, so we're going to bring this up all the way until we meet the roof, have the slope wall, then of course start filling in the sides of this structure on both sides of the pillar. There we go, bringing up these walls. Then again at the bottom you can use a secret door and then just fill in the remaining sections and end with the slope wall here at the top so that we have those pillars going from bottom to the top. All right, then we'll take another look here where the walls are going to be. First of all, from this section we want to leave 2 and then have a pillar, then another 2 and have another pillar. And these pillars we can raise up to where the height of the roof would be. So that's going to be 3 high, and this is going to be 5 high so that it meets up with the roof. Then over here, we want to have 3 walls before we bring in a pillar, going all the way up once again until it meets the roof. Then, of course, it's going to go in by 1. And we can also fill in this pillar all the way up. There we go. And then, of course, on the other side, we want to do the same thing. So a gap of 2, bring up the pillar by 5. Another gap of 2, bring up the pillar by 3. Then a gap of 3 over here, bring up the pillar all the way until it meets the roof. And then go in by 1 and then have another pillar right behind it. Again, meeting up with the roof. Now what we want to do is make sure that we know where the doors are going to be. So we want to have 1 door right here in this section, and we'll do the same thing here on the other side, which is going to be the access to the actual balconies here on the sides. We can have, of course, some glass walls to indicate that is going to be the wall, just to kind of make sure that we see the vision here. So we'll fill that in. It's going to go in by 1, and then it's going to go out by 2 right here. So we'll do the same thing here on the other side just for now to kind of fill in, and we know some rough shape of the walls. So we'll follow this line all the way to the pillar, go in by 1, and then have 2 more right here. And then, of course, we're going to have another one of these wooden sections. So we want to bring this out by 1, go 2 wide, and then go in by 1. And that also should line up with the one right below it. What we want to do, of course, is bring these walls up until we meet the roof. This shape as well. We're just going to follow it along until it's going to meet the roof. And then, of course, we're going to have some slope walls on top to meet it. And then this side we can completely fill in as well. And then here on the inside, of course, the bottom layer, you might want to use some secret doorways, then fill in everything above it until we need the slope walls on the top to finish that section. And then here on the other side, we're going to do the exact same thing. So we start by adding this shape and then having the secret doors there on that side. And then, of course, we can start filling in the walls around it so that we have, once again, that wooden pillar, which kind of connects all the way from the bottom up to the top, which I kind of like as a design feature. And then, of course, we're adding in the sloped walls just like that. And then here on this side, of course, we also are going to fill in the wall all the way and add in the slope walls. And in the last remaining section, we're gonna have 1 pillar right in the middle, so a gap of 2, and a 3 high pillar on both sides, just like this. So right over here, again, another pillar, and then we should be able to fill in these walls just like this on both sides. There we go. So that should meet up completely. And then, of course, we want to actually start filling in these entire walls, including, of course, the slope walls to make this all complete. So we just want to fill in all of these sections with proper glass now, so that we can get our walls of the A-frame completely done. So we're just going to go around, fill this section in, fill this section in as well, of course, bringing this all up, giving us nice big windows, which I personally always really like about A-frames. And then, of course, filling in these slope walls where needed. Then this section as well we can fill in completely. Of course, here we need to improvise a little bit, keep an eye out on where the roof line is going to be. For now, we don't have the roof, so it's a little easier to see on the inside. It's a little lighter without having to have like lights on. But yeah, you just want to follow the shape of the roof and fill in the sloped pieces wherever necessary. And of course, we're going to do the same thing here on the other side as well, filling in all of these walls just like that, adding in the sloped sections where we need to. There we go. Fill in this wall all the way to, and adding the slope walls on top of it, bringing this all in. So yeah, this is going to give us the nice main A-frame space enclosed on almost all of the sides. Of course, we need one more side before we have it completely done, but we're definitely making good progress now, filling in all of this and filling these sections in as well. There we go. So we have all the windows completely filled in on both sides. And then of course we want to add in the actual doors here too. There we go. Then it's time to continue with the roof. And first of all, the first 2 layers here, we're going to make 2 more. So we're going to connect it so it's 5 wide here in total. And then this part is going to get the 1. And then the layer above it can be this wide again, and the layer above it can be that wide. Basically, it's going to have a little added building here, which I used as a greenhouse. So we're going to have a corner of the roof here, corner of the roof there, and 1 over there. So 3 in total. We can fill in the metal roof up until this point. So we'll do the same shape here. So 3 metal roofs here. Bring out the corners just like this. There we go. And then of course this is where the normal A-frame would once again continue. And then of course we can make sure that we connect this back up to the ceilings. We have these 2 here as well, and we can fill in the bottom layer, and then we can continue at least the bottom layer all the way until we meet the other side. So basically here we're going to have a little greenhouse addition. And then first of all here, the middle 3, lining it up with the other side, we want to just continue all the way down until it meets the other part of the A-frame that we've just built. If I can stop misplacing things, there we go. So yeah, just all the way from the top to the bottom, and that's the middle layer here. And then here alongside the walls, we of course want to also add in the layers of roof. So we have this section left, and then we make sure to have 1 layer of roofs here. That's going to be another window. We're going to continue this line here as well, so we can have 2 nice big windows on that section. So we'll take out our glass roofs and fill in these sections with some nice big windows to let in plenty of light on this side of the build too, because yeah, that's always nice. There we go, just like that. Then we'll have another layers of roofs right here going all the way to the other side, and then these 2 layers around the wall, of course, just like that, leaving another nice gap here for a window. So this is going to be another window to let in more light and kind of change up this part of the roof. So that's kind of filling in that roof part, and pretty much meaning that we have the A-frame standing. We're going to do a little bit more work on the interior, adding in at least another layer, because otherwise there's a lot of wasted space. But first, let's focus on building the greenhouse itself. All right, what I'm doing here is I'm basically building this greenhouse and then using custom cosmetic skins as well as the Frontier skin to changing this to look a lot nicer. So it only works if you're going to use skins, because otherwise it's going to look pretty silly being just a greenhouse. So we're going to start right over here, and we're going to have 5 walls going out from this roof. So here as well, 5 walls going out from that roof. And then we actually here want 2 more going into the build. So basically where this roof ends, we want to end these walls as well. We want to make these walls 2 high along the sides, just like that. And then we want to have 2 walls here And 2 walls there. And then, of course, we can fill in these. This is going to have 2 nice double doors here in the middle. So we can still, of course, easily get into the main A-frame. And here on the outside, I would have a door right there. And another one right here. So we can leave. And then, of course, fill in the rest of this wall, as well as the actual doors. Then here on the outside, we want to add in a layer of ceilings all the way on the side. There we go. And then we do the same thing here on this side as well. Basically creating a little overhang here on the outside just to make the roof a little bit more interesting. And then we should be able to take out our greenhouse roofs and bring them in like this. I would personally also overhang them one at the front just to get a little bit of a nicer look. And then it's going to be 3 high in total, bringing these roofs back into connecting to the main building. There we go. And then we can do the same thing over here on this side, filling in the roof all the way, basically connecting it back up to the main structure, just like this. There we go. So now, of course, we need to fill in the remaining parts. So we're starting here with some sloped walls, creating the base shape. And we can, of course, do the same on the other side, placing these slope walls in. There we go. And then filling in the remaining walls of the greenhouse to, have a fully functioning greenhouse here that you can use. And once again, if you skin it, you can make it look pretty nice as well. And it's just a nice little addition to create a little bit more interest for this side of the build too. Now, we're not completely finished with the build, but we at least have the entire shell of the building. Now, we want to add in some nice support beams right here in the middle. So what we want to do is we start right here, bringing down these slope walls from the middle all the way back into the building. There we go. We can stop right there, because what we're also going to do is either use secret doorways if you want to use this space, but personally wouldn't really bother because there's not that much space behind this, and we can just fill in these walls so you have normal walls to build against, which is usually a little bit more convenient. And then here on this side, of course, we also want to bring up these slope walls to start creating that supportive beam on the inside to just create a little bit more structure on the inside of the building. And we can actually continue that on this side all the way through. Of course, it's going to have to end right here, and then we can have a full ceiling there, of course. And then this side, we also want to make sure that we have the slope walls going back up until they meet in the middle, and then we can have our roofs there to really get that beam in there. There we go. So that already adds a little bit of extra detail here to the build. Okay, so basically we want to create another internal wall to kind of divide the space up a little bit. We'll use a secret door. We want to have 1, 2, 3, and 4 before we place down the wall. And we're going to do the same thing here. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 before we place down the wall. Then we can actually have proper walls here, which is kind of going to divide the room into different sections, which, especially for your interior, is just going to help a whole bunch. This middle wall needs to be 5 high in total, so just like this, and we can fill in the entire structure, which is a nice dividing wall. This is personally the wall where I would hide the generator on the inside, because it's kind of centered in your build, especially if you use a tech generator. This will power your entire building easily. And there we go. We can fill this entire in. So you have some different sections now to the build, which I think is a little bit more convenient to decorate. Then it's time to start the stairway up to the next layer. We can connect that to this side of this wall. So we should go up along the entire side of the wall, but that should also instantly get to the top of it. Should match up perfectly. And then it means that we can start filling in the ceilings for this layer. Now we want to, of course, make sure that we go around the stairs and keep a gap of 3 in total to give it some decent space here that we can use. And then we can start filling in all of this to create another layer of this build. Be careful that you don't go outside of your walls, especially if you're using glass walls. It can sometimes be a little bit tricky to spot where the build actually ends. And then we can just go start filling all of this in, and you'll see we're getting another pretty decently sized layer in here actually. So definitely nice to have. I've personally used this as my like bedroom, but of course free to use it for whatever you want. It's definitely a decent amount of space that we still have up here. So yeah, you could definitely do quite a few things here. And if you don't do this, it's kind of a waste of space not using all of this. As you can see, there we go. We've got a whole new floor. And then of course what we want to do is take out our railings, make sure that we have railings going alongside the stairs as well as the sides of this gap, not the back. We're gonna make another dividing wall here, or at least that's what I did, because I built like a bedroom behind this. So what I did is I built a full wall going up here just like this. So basically matching the shape of the supporting beams. So that's what we did. Then what we can do, of course, is have some secret doorways on the side if you want to utilize the space. You could. And then here on this side, we can just kind of follow the shape like that. We can have another full wall here going up and following the shape of the building. There we go. So yeah, you basically create a little room here, which I would use as a bedroom, and you still have some space on this side as well, kind of just dividing it up in smaller spaces, which usually work quite well for me. And then one more thing that I would do is to add like a little beam across these platforms or the ceilings, just because that looks a little bit nicer in my opinion if you have it supported like this. And especially with skins, this can look quite nice indeed. So we can have all of those going across. And here on the side, I would still fill in these walls just because I think it's a little bit more convenient to have straight walls going up. You can, of course, use secret doors if you want to utilize the space behind them. But, I mean, I don't think you're going to run out of space in here, but whatever you want. And if you do this, what you might want to do, if you check the outsides, you will see that you can now look inside of this. So you might want to change these or skin them to something different. You're already good on that side. It's basically only these two corners where you could potentially see it. It's kind of hidden, so it's not a big deal, but I would personally change those two out. And then we pretty much have the entire A-frame build as it should be. So yeah, that is pretty much the entire build. So you have a decent amount of space. As you can see, quite a big Dino Pen or garage down here. You have a decent amount of space here as well to park some flyers. You have a decent greenhouse to grow your plants. You have definitely a lot of room in here with easy access, even if you want to fly some stuff in. So for your storage and crafting, I would do that right here. Even have the possibility of bringing stuff up and down with that elevator. You have some balconies around for your smaller flyers on this side too. And then of course you have these rooms up here. Again, all big windows, so you have a lot of natural light coming in, which I always really like, because in the end, that's probably always the best light to be able to see inside of your base. So there we go. That is how you build it. Now, of course, you can transform the look with skins. I don't think you need to necessarily use that many skins. I would definitely skin all the wooden ceilings at least. And some of these you could either paint or skin to look a little bit better. And definitely you want to use some skins on the greenhouse to make it blend in a little bit more. But overall, this is actually the build that I've not gone too crazy with skinning them. So if we're looking at my final build, what I've used is the modern structure skins. There's a custom cosmetic for these precast textures on the foundation at the bottom, basically just giving a little bit more of a clean look, a little bit more of a nicer floor. I've used the quantum custom cosmetics, which is a premium one for a lot of the skins on these structures. So this is so for example, this is the bio grinder, that's a feeding trough and a water well. We've got the mega lab here, we've got the garage actually here, so you can see you've got a lot of skins for that. The main skins here, this is also from the modern structures custom cosmetic, the black marble skins, I think, or the matte variant that they have. And then we've used the nice wooden textures. I think there's a modern wood planks custom cosmetic, something like that it's called, and that gives you these planks as well as these over here. Got some of the frontier skins, we've got a lot of these beams. For the roof, I've actually used the quantum custom cosmetics as well, just to get that nice black texture. And you can see for the beams I've used the modern structures textures again, and I've actually left the wood as is for these pillars everywhere, so I've only really skinned the floors and the beams and the roof basically. And yeah, you get a nice clean look. But of course, there's many different ways that you can skin it. There's many different custom cosmetic skins out there, and more dropping every day. And whether you go the skinning round or you go painting it, I think you'll have a quite nice base. So with that being said, let's go for a quick little tour. If you want to see the whole build in more detail, of course, watch the full tour. But yeah, quickly an overview. Of course, you have plenty of space for some flies up here, drop in to the Dino Pen and the little greenhouse. I've used some chimneys as well to give it a little bit of character. We've got a smaller balcony here. As you can see, you can easily park some small flies here. We have these balconies as well, if you need some more space for your flyers. And then the porch down below, as you can see, you can definitely park flyers down here. Got my teleporter and a modded transmitter right there as well. And then we have the main Dino Pen. So as I said, I've got the bio grinder here, we've got a UT, we got the mega lab and the garage, we got some gigas here for size and the carts as well. So you can see they easily fit inside. You can definitely do some decent breeding in the bottom of this base. And then of course we've got the elevator. Oops, we got the elevator to go up. And then this is the main building. So we've got the big entrance to fly in. Got a little bit of library and storage in the corner. We've got the steam forge right here. We've got the grinder in the middle, the tech replicator, the cam bench, more storage in this corner. This is where the elevator goes up. We've got the dedicated storage with a crafting smithy table right next to it. We got the fabricator here. We got a little bit of our decoration out here, as well as another smithy. We've got water access. We got the kitchen area here with some fridges, water, and a nice little taxidermy meshed into a grill to get some really cool little grill features. I think Onyx Bob was the first one that I saw this do, and then I was like, yes, this is perfect to cook some things. And then we got the cooker here as well. We got a little kitchen area decorated out here. And then yeah, you can see you can easily fit some tames inside as well without too much trouble. Got a little greenhouse going on here as well, growing some plants and everything. Some extra storage here, an extra fridge, etc, etc. We got the clock as well, boosting or crafting in here. And then we got the bedroom up here, so we have room for the artifacts. We got trophy mounts. Got a little poker game, you know, if you want to play some poker with your friends. And then some extra storage in the bedroom, as well as the beds and a little lounge area and everything you might need in the bedroom. Quickly respawning. This is my cryo fridge, but it's the Dino Depot mod. So yeah, basically everything that you need all in one big A-frame. And yeah, I'm quite happy with the way this one turned out. It's a little bit different. It's still an A-frame, but a little bit different than the other A-frames I've done so far. And it should give you plenty of space to work with. So if you've enjoyed this full step-by-step tutorial, of course, feel free to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and of course, feel free to leave suggestions for future builds down in the comments below. That's it for this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.